Carl Anthony, one of my favorite people, one of my favorite lyricists and singers, and they say that the lyrics of songs sometimes are as powerful as anything else that we ever hear or come in contact with, and I think that's true for Carl Anthony's lyrics. You know the answers to your questions. You do know the way, and wouldn't it be so nice if somebody else could just point you in the right direction and do it for you? That'd be so much easier, so much easier. You know, from the very beginning of time, human beings have had the same general questions, no matter if we're talking about Aborigines or the people in the rainforest or the caveman or whatever. As long as we've been thinking beings, we human beings have basically had a few questions that our entire life experience is trying to answer. How did we get here? How did we get here? How did this happen? Where did we come from? How did we get here? What does it mean to be a human being? What's this all about? What's the purpose? Why are we even here? What's greater than I am? What is that power and that presence somewhere within or without that's greater than I am? You know, if we were indigenous peoples, we might think that was thunder or lightning or the volcano. See, we're always asking these questions. And then, of course, it's how am I supposed to act? How do I act? How do I show up in the world? So really, everything we do in our human experience is geared toward answering some form of that basic set of questions. We can read books, lots of books. I've got a huge library at my house. When my house got destroyed and rebuilt, most of my things got given away. Not my books. I still have a big library, see. So we read books, try to figure these things out. How to get here? What am I supposed to do? What's this all about? We follow traditions if we're more into a religious tradition or a cultural tradition. We follow our traditions to try to make sense out of life. But this is the deal. The big thing is our personal experience. That's where we find the answers. In the everyday stuff. That's where it gets interesting. Because the answers are not always real clear, right? Because every single one of us has a unique soul journey. And your answers might be different than mine. We have different ways of perceiving and being in the world. And what I know for sure is nobody else can do our journey for us. Nobody can be the you that you are. Nobody can do your life the way you can do your life. No book can tell you how to do it, no matter how you follow the rules. No guru can tell you how to do it, and nobody else can tell you how to do your life. We got to figure it out on our own. We got to do it on our own. As I was watching that video of the butterflies, it reminded me of why I picked that video. I forgot to include it in my talk, which doesn't surprise me, but I forgot to include the idea that there is a story of a butterfly trying to break out of a cocoon. And he's struggling. It's not easy if you're a butterfly and you've been through that liquefaction process and you're, turned to mush and now you're back into a butterfly and you're trying to break the cocoon open so that you can fly free. And there's a story that talks about a man who sees the butterfly struggling and he helps the butterfly get out of the cocoon prematurely. Now this is the deal. The guy tried to do it for him, right? And you know what happened? The butterfly did not survive. Because the butterfly needed to struggle. He needed to try to get the juice into those wings so that he could fly strong in the world, see? Nobody can do it for us. Nobody can do our journey for us as well as we can do it for ourselves. Like it or not, there's going to be a season and a time for everything in our human experience. in our personal experience of life. And just about the time we think we have all the answers to plan A, what happens? Life falls apart, right? Just about the time we think we got it all figured out, something happens. We get fired. Our body gets a diagnosis. We fall down and break something, right? Our bank account goes upside down. We lose somebody. We get old. All of a sudden, things are different, you see. Plan A falls apart. We are involved in this dynamic, evolving universe, and it's our job to flap our wings even when it's hard so that we can be strong and grow through all of this stuff, see? I do know that the dynamic energy of the universe does support our journeys. We don't always like how it looks, do we? I don't. But not knowing is part of our human journey. If we knew all the answers, we wouldn't be here anymore. So we have to learn how to embrace all this unexpected stuff. I've been embracing a lot of unexpected stuff recently. We never know what's going to happen next. We cannot avoid what goes on. It's going to happen with or without our permission. And this is the deal. We need to learn how to stay balanced when all this is going on. That's why I picked this image. This image of this sort of precarious balancing act. Anybody feel like they're precariously balancing every once in a while? Whether it's your health or your finances or your attitude or your process, whatever you're going through. See, people ask me these days, because I've had kind of a tough time, they say, how are you doing? And my general answer is, I'm trying to stay balanced. I used to say, oh, I'm okay, but then that was not true. So I decided to say, I'm trying to stay balanced. Even though the river is rushing, right? I'm trying to stay balanced. I'm having the courage to embrace it, whatever it is, and hang in there to stay balanced, see? What I figured out is that my experience of life is all about how I handle Plan B. Whether it's a divorce, an illness, a job change, growing older, a loss, it's all about how I handle Plan B. Plan A always is wonderful, right? It's the happily ever after plan. It's the one where everything is perfect. It's the one that has the rosy glow around it, the picket fence and the 2 dogs and all that stuff, right? The happily ever after, the Cinderella effect. It's easy to do life when it's Plan A and it's all humming along. But when Plan B shows up, no matter how it is for you, whatever it is, and there's no one in this room that hasn't had a Plan B, because guess what? We're all aging. We're all aging. And when Plan B shows up, everything is upside down, inside out, changes, and we are called to embrace whatever that thing is, see? Requires us to put on our big girl panties and go forward and be present with whatever that thing is. And I know for a fact, because it's been my journey recently, that we tend to get caught up in the pain of it, whatever that thing is. Whether it's a financial debacle, whether it's our house falling apart, whether it's people moving, whether it's people dying, no matter what it is, we get caught up in the pain of whatever that thing is, and all of a sudden, we have limited perception about what is possible. All of a sudden, our world starts to close in. We'd rather play it safe, right? We'd rather hide from life. Boy, that bed looks pretty good. I'd rather throw in the towel, retreat, and not engage. I don't want to do my life anymore. But then what? We're here. We're here. We have this opportunity to be present with life. That elephant, trauma, scared to death in the water. Look what happened. After some nurturing and after some training, goes in and can finally play in the water so he can return, and this is our job, to return to the essence of our experience as our humanity calls us to be. You know that movie Moonstruck? I love the scene in Moonstruck where Cher smacks Nicolas Cage and she says, "Snap out of it! Snap out of it!" Constantly telling myself, snap out of it. Snap out of it. You know, we get kind of wound up in some of the things of life. So we have to put aside our tendency to sort of retreat to that. Move away from all of it shouldn't happen, it should have happened, it ought not have happened, or it ought to have happened. How come this happened? How come this happened? See, there's no better time or place to experience our life than right now. Within whatever is going on, the answers to life are present in that thing right now. I have a little great-grandson, Walker. He's almost 2. He's 18 months old. And guess what? He knows how to experience life on life's term in the present moment. Doesn't worry about all this other stuff. Now, his parents are not helicopter parents. You know that new terminology that we have where the parent goes to school with the kid and then they go join the same sorority and then they're part of the ballet class. They want to go play soccer with the kid on the team. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about careful nurturing. So little Walker's parents are very nurturing. And during the rain, when it was heaviest, they put him in his little blue overcoat with a hood, or his little raincoat, his little yellow galoshes, and they walked behind him with flip-flops on and bare legs, Daddy, and watched him walk through the puddle, the gutter. Remember? Did you ever do that? Did you ever let your kids do that? Were you worried that they'd get a cold if they got too wet? No. So here's little Walker splashing through all this thing. And this is what caught my attention when my granddaughter sent me that video. Walker knows the answers to the questions because you know what he did? He bent down while he's walking and enjoying the rain. He touched the water and he says, "Hi, water." Hi, water. Walker knows that everything's living. The answer was right there for him. He knows. He knows. See? We know the answers to life. We just have to get out of our way and slop around a little bit in the gutter. Sometimes we feel like we're stuck in the gutter, don't we? If I'm not going to enjoy my life right now, then when am I going to do it? If you're not going to enjoy your life right now, today, when are you going to do it? See, even if it doesn't feel fabulous, you can find something about your life experience to enjoy, to be present with. This is it. There is no other it. There's no other it. And guess what? I'm the star of the play. I'm writing the script. I'm the star. I get to direct the scene. And I get to decide how it shows up in the moment. And if I'm accepting whatever that thing is, even if sometimes I have to fall apart of the seams, pick myself up, and carry on, see, if I can accept that it's okay already no matter what, just as it is. It might not be plan A, and it might not be my idea of perfection. But I can decide to be okay anyway. And sometimes within that, I just have to sit down and cry. And I have to just, gather myself together and remember that I've got the capacity to stay balanced and engage with life. And the more I engage with life, the more I notice the beauty and the elegance of life going on around me. The more I notice Walker saying, "Hi, water." Hi, water. See, even though plan B doesn't look the way I want my life to look, even though plan A was a whole lot better, I can still engage in life. I can still have goals. I can still have dreams. But you know what? My quality of engagement with things is going to change. When things change, when my body changes, when my bank account changes, I'm about ready to trading my car. My lease is up. And I can honestly say that in many, many years, I've never, ever had to think about how much my lease is going to cost. Now I do. Now I do. It's different. That doesn't mean I'm not going to get a car and go around on a, moped or something. I'm going to go get a car. But it'll be different. It'll be very different. We have to kind of adjust to whatever's going on. Adjust all the way around. Right now I'm sharing my home with, before I was sharing my home with my daughter and my granddaughter. They lived there for about 10 years. Shared my home with my son who'd lived there. I'd not ever been around my son for 50 years, right? Now, they're gone. Well, I've got a Chinese family in one house. Mom, dad, and a little 5-year-old going to some sort of immersion program at some local private school. I've got 6 people in Liz's house, my daughter's house. She's not there anymore, but 6 people in there. 4 little girls, mom and dad, they're having a ball, and I hear them just goofing around, having the best time. Looks different. It looks a lot different. Plan B, plan B, plan B. It's okay. It's okay. So what I've learned from reading David Richo, 5 things that are given in life. No matter what, these things are going to happen. Things are going to change and end. And when they do, I got to grieve them. I got to say goodbye to what's gone, whether it's my capacity to jump rope or my family members or whatever it is. And then I got to be courageous enough and stay balanced enough to move on, to find the next adventure. Plans change. Boy, do they ever. Have you noticed? And we got to open up to what comes next. Pain is part of life. Absolutely. Anything can happen to any one of us at any time. And once we accept that, it makes it easier to embrace when these awful things show up, or when we're in the middle of trying to move through them. Life's not fair. My mom always says, that's just not fair. That's just not fair. Guess what? My dad says, Alice, life isn't fair. Life isn't fair. It's, part of the human condition. And I get a choice. Can I be a victim of life, or can I be present with compassion and understanding? And then people are not always loving and loyal. Have you noticed how that works? Anybody been divorced? Anybody been divorced? Anybody been betrayed? Yeah. But I can love anyway, no matter what. I can love anyway, no matter what. So how we live our lives on life's terms is going to make a big difference. So if we've got the courage to stay balanced as best as we can, to take time out when we need to accept these givens that things are going to happen, not be bitter, I was talking to somebody about my current situation, and I realized that there's no bitterness, there's no anger, there's no resentment, and there's no regret. There's just grief. Just grief. Does that make sense? Yes. When we can get rid of all that other stuff, it makes it a lot easier to be present with what is. See, to embrace it, be sad, whatever it is. Just feel it, bless it, and move on, like Linda says, ban it. Bless it and move on. Go beyond what happened. Now see, this is the deal, it's always going to be part of your experience. No matter what goes on, good, bad, or indifferent, it's always going to be part of your experience, both and. So we've got to embrace it. We've got to hold it in both hands. We've got to say, welcome, plan A and plan B, so that we're not looking at just this or that. We're looking at the whole picture so that we can enjoy our experience in the moment and remember that there is beauty and grace and goodness in life. So for me today, I do have courage to do life. I hope you do too. Plan B includes snapping out of it, like Cher says, snap out of it, and looking for the possibilities within whatever is going on, to stay balanced, and to remember that somewhere along the line, just like Baby Walker with the water, I do know the answers to life on life's terms.